Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the opulent yet terrifying world of the Ottoman Imperial Harem, where you'll experience life as a concubine in one of history's most luxurious prisons. Picture this: you're awakening on silk cushions worth more than most people's houses, surrounded by walls inlaid with precious stones and mother-of-pearl, while the soft morning light filters through latticed windows that you'll never be allowed to open or pass through freely again. The air is heavy with the scent of rosewater and expensive incense, but beneath these pleasant aromas lies the unmistakable tension of a place where beauty, intelligence, and ruthless ambition determine whether you live in comfort or die mysteriously in your sleep. Your golden cage represents the ultimate paradox of Ottoman court life: absolute luxury combined with complete powerlessness, where every comfort comes at the cost of freedom, and every privilege increases your vulnerability to the deadly politics that govern harem existence. You're probably thinking this sounds like a fairy tale, but trust me, you wouldn't survive a week in this environment, where a misplaced glance or poorly chosen word could result in your sudden disappearance from imperial records. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight, and what time it is in your corner of the world. Drop that in the comments, and let's see how this Ottoman adventure is reaching across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're not just any concubine, you're among the newest additions to what was essentially the world's most exclusive and dangerous finishing school, where the graduation prize was becoming the mother of future sultans, and the failure penalty was often death. The Ottoman Imperial Harem housed between 300 and 1,200 women during its peak periods, creating a complex social ecosystem where your survival depended on mastering skills that would make modern political strategists weep with envy. Your sleeping chamber reflects your current lowly status as a recent acquisition. You're sharing space with several other newcomers in a room that, while luxurious by any normal standard, represents the bottom tier of harem accommodations. The hierarchy here is so rigid that even the thread count of your bedsheets communicates your exact position in the social order, and everyone from the chief black eunuch to the newest kitchen servant can read your status at a glance. As consciousness fully returns, you become aware of the gentle sounds that define harem mornings: the distant splash of fountain water, the soft padding of slippered feet on marble floors, and the hushed conversations conducted in at least 6 different languages. The Ottoman Empire's reach meant that women arrived here from across Europe, Asia, and Africa, creating a multicultural environment where your survival often depended on your ability to navigate not just political intrigue, but also complex linguistic and cultural barriers. Your silk nightgown, worth more than most families earned in a year, clings to your skin as you realize that even your most intimate garments serve political purposes in this environment. Everything you wear, eat, or touch has been carefully selected to reflect your current value to the imperial household, while simultaneously serving as a canvas for the subtle messages and signals that constitute harem communication. Historians still argue whether the Ottoman harem system was primarily about royal pleasure or political control, but lying here in your golden prison, you understand that it's both, and that understanding this duality is essential for your survival in an environment where luxury and lethality dance together in an endless, deadly waltz. The soft chime of a silver bell signals the beginning of your morning ablutions, and you discover that even the simple act of getting clean has been transformed into an elaborate political ritual, where every gesture is observed, evaluated, and reported to the harem's complex hierarchy of authority. Senior concubines appear at your bedside like silk-clad generals commanding an army of beauty, each one carrying the authority to make or break your fragile position in this perfumed battlefield, where cleanliness is quite literally next to survival. Your bathing ceremony takes place in marble chambers that would make Roman emperors jealous, featuring heated floors, running water systems that were centuries ahead of their European counterparts, and bathing pools carved from single blocks of precious stone. The Ottoman Empire's engineering prowess created bathing facilities so advanced that they included primitive steam rooms, sophisticated drainage systems, and temperature controls that maintained perfect water warmth throughout extended washing rituals. The senior concubines overseeing your ablutions wield power that extends far beyond simple hygiene supervision. They're intelligence operatives disguised as beauty consultants, cataloging every mole, scar, and physical attribute for reports that will determine your future assignments within the harem's complex ecosystem. These women have survived decades in an environment where knowledge is power and information about new arrivals represents valuable currency in the never-ending game of palace politics. Your bathing attendants include specialists whose entire careers revolve around specific aspects of Ottoman beauty standards. Women who understand the precise mixture of oils that enhance skin tone, experts in hair treatments that create the lustrous locks preferred by imperial tastes, and massage specialists whose techniques serve both relaxation and subtle interrogation purposes. These positions represent some of the most secure employment in the empire, making their holders fiercely protective of their expertise and deeply invested in maintaining the systems that sustain their privileged status. The soaps and oils applied to your skin contain ingredients imported from across the known world. Rose water from Bulgaria, sandalwood from India, ambergris from distant whaling grounds, and various exotic essences that cost more per ounce than most people earned in a month. Your daily beauty routine consumes resources that could feed entire villages, demonstrating the empire's wealth while simultaneously communicating your value as imperial property requiring careful maintenance and enhancement. Your hair receives particular attention because Ottoman aesthetic preferences favored elaborate styles that required hours of preparation and demonstrated both your status and your commitment to imperial beauty standards. The intricate braiding, oiling, and ornamentation of your hair serves multiple purposes, displaying wealth through expensive accessories, communicating your availability for imperial attention, and providing opportunities for senior concubines to conduct private conversations while working on your appearance. The bathing process includes medical examinations disguised as beauty treatments, where experienced concubines check for signs of illness, pregnancy, or other conditions that might affect your value to the imperial household. These examinations are conducted with the thoroughness of military inspections, because any health issues could reflect poorly on the women responsible for your care, potentially triggering investigations that might uncover embarrassing oversights or deliberate negligence. Personal hygiene in the Ottoman Harem operated according to standards that wouldn't be matched by European courts for centuries. Daily bathing was mandatory rather than optional. Dental care included sophisticated cleaning techniques using imported materials, and body hair removal was performed with precision that would impress modern aestheticians. These practices weren't just about personal comfort. They represented imperial standards that distinguished Ottoman civilization from what they considered the barbarian customs of their European rivals. Your morning ablutions conclude with the application of subtle cosmetics designed to enhance your natural features while conforming to current imperial preferences for beauty. Techniques passed down through generations of successful concubines who understood that survival often depended on mastering the art of making artificial enhancement appear completely natural. Historians still argue whether Ottoman beauty standards were primarily influenced by Persian traditions or developed independently, but the evidence suggests a sophisticated fusion of multiple cultural aesthetic philosophies. The entire bathing ritual serves as your first daily lesson in harem survival, understanding that every moment of your existence is observed, every aspect of your appearance is evaluated, and every interaction with other women represents an opportunity to advance or destroy your prospects for imperial favor and the security that comes with it. Your first meal of the day transforms into a masterclass in surviving social warfare, disguised as polite dining, where the morning pastries might contain more than honey, and the innocent chatter around the breakfast table conceals plots that would make Machiavelli take notes. You're seated according to a precise hierarchy that communicates your exact status to everyone present, while navigating conversations that could elevate your position or seal your fate before you finished your first cup of Turkish coffee. The breakfast hall gleams with Ottoman luxury. Mother-of-pearl inlays catch the morning light streaming through stained glass windows. while serving dishes crafted from precious metals display an array of delicacies that represent the empire's vast trading networks. Your meal includes exotic fruits from distant provinces, pastries made with imported spices worth their weight in silver, and beverages prepared according to recipes guarded more carefully than state secrets, all served on porcelain so fine it's practically transparent. Your dining companions include women who've mastered the art of conducting deadly business while maintaining expressions of serene contentment, each one capable of destroying rivals through methods ranging from subtle character assassination to more direct interventions involving untraceable substances. The woman to your left might be discussing embroidery techniques while planning your downfall, and the gentle soul offering you additional honey could be testing your tolerance for various exotic toxins. Poisoning in the Ottoman Harem was such a refined art that practitioners developed techniques for administering substances that produced symptoms resembling everything from common illnesses to tragic accidents, making it nearly impossible to prove deliberate harm had occurred. Your breakfast companions understand dozens of ways to eliminate competition using ingredients readily available in any well-stocked imperial kitchen, from quick-acting substances that cause immediate dramatic deaths to slow-working compounds that gradually weaken victims over months. The seating arrangements around the breakfast table reflect not just current hierarchies, but also ongoing power struggles, alliance formations, and the complex web of relationships that determine survival in this environment. Your placement next to certain women sends specific messages about your current status, your potential value, and the degree of protection or vulnerability you currently enjoy within the harem social ecosystem. Conversation topics are carefully selected to extract information while revealing as little as possible about the speaker's own circumstances, plans, or alliances. You're participating in intelligence-gathering operations disguised as friendly morning chat. Every question about your background, preferences, or opinions represents an attempt to catalog your strengths, weaknesses, and potential utility in various schemes that might be brewing among your dining companions. The Turkish coffee served at breakfast contains enough caffeine to keep you alert for the political minefields ahead, but it's also prepared by specialists who understand exactly how different brewing techniques can affect both flavor and the drinker's state of consciousness. Some coffee preparations include subtle additives that enhance mental clarity, while others might contain substances that make drinkers more talkative or susceptible to suggestion, making your choice of beverage another small but significant survival decision. Food tasting protocols ensure that every dish has been sampled by multiple people before reaching your plate. But these safety measures are complicated by the fact that some of the tasters might be working for rival factions within the harem hierarchy. Your breakfast becomes an exercise in evaluating not just the food's safety, but also the reliability of the people responsible for ensuring that safety, adding layers of suspicion to what should be a simple meal. The pastries you're enjoying represent masterpieces of Ottoman culinary art, featuring techniques and ingredients that demonstrate the empire's sophisticated trade relationships and culinary innovations. However, the same expertise that creates these delicious treats can be applied to masking the taste and texture of various substances that might have purposes beyond simple nutrition, making every bite a small act of faith in your dining companion's current goodwill. Your morning meal concludes with the understanding that you've survived your first major daily challenge while gathering intelligence about the women who will either become your allies or orchestrate your destruction. Historians still argue whether harem poisoning stories were exaggerated by European observers or actually understated the true extent of chemical warfare among Ottoman concubines. But you're learning firsthand that the truth probably exceeds even the most dramatic historical accounts. Your formal education begins in chambers where learning becomes a weapon, and every artistic skill you master increases both your value and your vulnerability in the deadly competition for imperial attention. The curriculum designed for Ottoman concubines was more comprehensive than what most European universities offered their male students, encompassing literature, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and the subtle arts of seduction that could determine the fate of empires, through strategically deployed charm and calculated intimacy. Your music lessons take place on instruments worth small fortunes, lutes inlaid with ivory and precious stones, drums crafted from exotic woods and stretched with the finest leather, and stringed instruments that produce sounds so haunting they're said to make sultans weep with longing. The musical techniques you're learning aren't just entertainment, they're psychological warfare tools designed to create emotional states that make powerful men vulnerable to suggestion and manipulation. Poetry instruction reveals itself as advanced training in coded communication, where seemingly innocent verses about nightingales and roses actually convey complex political messages, romantic invitations, or warnings about immediate dangers. Your poetry teachers are masters of multiple literary traditions: Persian ghazals that speak to the soul's deepest yearnings, Arabic qasidas that demonstrate intellectual sophistication, and Turkish folk forms that connect with more primal emotional responses. Dance lessons transform your body into a communication device capable of expressing messages that spoken words could never safely convey, while simultaneously developing the physical grace and sensual awareness that Ottoman aesthetic traditions valued above almost any other feminine accomplishment. Your instructors understand that certain movements can induce specific emotional and physiological responses in observers, making dance education essentially a course in applied human psychology. The languages you're studying: Ottoman Turkish for court communication, Arabic for religious and scholarly discourse, Persian for poetry and refined conversation, represent more than simple communication tools. They're keys to accessing different levels of imperial society and understanding the cultural codes that govern behavior in various social contexts. Fluency in multiple languages allows you to eavesdrop on conversations that participants assume you can't understand, gathering intelligence that could prove invaluable for survival and advancement. Your calligraphy instruction teaches you to create visual art that doubles as written communication, using script styles so beautiful they're considered sacred, while mastering techniques for embedding hidden messages within apparently innocent decorative texts. The finest calligraphers in the empire serve as your instructors, passing down secrets of their craft that include methods for creating invisible inks, concealing documents within decorative borders, and encoding information in the spacing and alignment of letters. Mathematics and astronomy lessons might seem impractical for a concubine's life, but these subjects actually provide essential training for understanding the complex timing and probability calculations that govern harem politics. Your ability to calculate optimal moments for various actions, understand statistical relationships between different strategies, and predict cyclical patterns in imperial behavior could mean the difference between success and elimination from the competition. Medical knowledge forms a crucial part of your education because understanding human anatomy, herbal remedies, and the symptoms of various conditions allows you to protect yourself from the numerous health threats that characterize harem life. Your medical instructors teach you to recognize signs of poisoning, understand the effects of different substances on human physiology, and apply treatments that could save your life when professional medical help might not be available or trustworthy. The competitive atmosphere of your educational sessions creates additional layers of danger because demonstrating superior abilities in any subject immediately marks you as a potential threat to other students who might be further advanced in their harem careers. Your challenge becomes learning everything you can while carefully managing how much talent you display, avoiding the deadly combination of impressive abilities and insufficient political protection. Your teachers themselves represent various factions within the harem hierarchy, meaning that your educational choices, which instructors you favor, which subjects you emphasize, which techniques you adopt, communicate political alignments that could determine your future opportunities and enemies. Every lesson becomes a political statement about your intentions, alliances, and strategic priorities. The library resources available for your education include manuscripts so rare that European scholars would commit crimes to examine them. But access to specific texts depends on your current status and the political considerations that govern information distribution within the harem. Historians still argue whether Ottoman palace libraries were primarily tools of education or instruments of control. But your experience suggests they function as both simultaneously. Your linguistic education evolves into a deadly game of communication survival, where mastering the right words at the right moments could save your life, while a single mispronunciation or cultural misstep might trigger consequences ranging from social exile to mysterious disappearance. The Ottoman court operated using at least 7 different languages simultaneously, creating a linguistic ecosystem so complex that fluency in multiple tongues became essential survival equipment rather than mere scholarly accomplishment. Ottoman Turkish serves as the primary administrative language of your new world, but its grammar and vocabulary carry political implications that extend far beyond simple communication. Certain verb forms indicate your relationship to imperial authority. Specific pronouns communicate your understanding of social hierarchies, and even your accent reveals information about your origins that could be used against you by rivals seeking ammunition for character assassination campaigns. Arabic provides access to religious discourse and scholarly debate, but more importantly, it allows you to understand the theological justifications and legal precedents that govern harem life, imperial succession, and the complex regulations that determine which behaviors are permissible and which might result in charges of heresy or treason. Your Arabic teachers include former religious scholars who understand the intricate relationship between language, law, and survival in an empire where spiritual authority intersects with temporal power. Persian opens doors to the sophisticated poetic and philosophical traditions that define refined Ottoman culture, but it also provides access to the historical precedents and cultural codes that influence imperial decision-making processes. The Persian literary tradition includes countless examples of palace intrigue, romantic manipulation, and political strategy disguised as entertainment, offering you a practical education in successful port survival techniques wrapped in beautiful artistic packages. The various Slavic languages spoken by concubines from the empire's European territories create opportunities for private communication and alliance building, but they also represent potential security risks if authorities suspect that linguistic bonds might create political loyalties that compete with imperial allegiance. Your ability to understand conversations in Serbian, Bulgarian, or Albanian could provide valuable intelligence, but demonstrating that ability at the wrong moment might raise questions about your ultimate loyalties. Circassian and other Caucasian languages connect you with some of the most valued and dangerous women in the harem, those whose beauty and intelligence have elevated them to positions of significant influence, but whose ethnic backgrounds also make them subjects of particular scrutiny from imperial security services concerned about foreign influence operations. Learning these languages allows you to access sophisticated networks of mutual support and shared intelligence, while simultaneously exposing you to the political dangers that accompany such associations. The secret communication systems that have evolved within the harem include hand signals, clothing arrangements, flower combinations, and musical codes that allow women to convey complex information without speaking. But mastering these systems requires understanding not just the technical aspects, but also the political contexts that determine when such communications are safe and when they might be intercepted by hostile observers. Your language instructors function as intelligence operatives who evaluate your political reliability while teaching you communication skills, reporting on your progress, preferences, and the linguistic alliances you're forming with other students. These reports influence decisions about your future education, living arrangements, and opportunities for advancement, making every classroom interaction a performance that's being evaluated for signs of loyalty, competence, and potential threat levels. The library conversations you overhear during language study sessions provide windows into ongoing political developments throughout the empire. Discussions about military campaigns, trade negotiations, succession planning, and diplomatic initiatives that wouldn't be mentioned in formal settings, but emerge naturally during what appear to be casual educational interactions among women who assume their conversations aren't being monitored. Technical vocabulary becomes particularly important as you learn the precise terms for describing degrees of imperial favor, categories of punishment, types of political alliance, and the various forms of advancement or elimination that characterize harem career trajectories. Understanding these distinctions allows you to participate in sophisticated political discussions, while avoiding the linguistic mistakes that might reveal dangerous ignorance about court protocols and survival requirements. Your multilingual abilities create opportunities for serving as an interpreter during important meetings and negotiations. But these roles also expose you to state secrets and confidential information that make you simultaneously more valuable and more dangerous to various political factions. Historians still argue whether Ottoman linguistic diversity strengthened or weakened imperial unity, but you're discovering that it creates both opportunities and threats for individual survival in the palace environment. Your afternoon social gatherings transform into sophisticated intelligence operations, where every sip of tea and delicate bite of Turkish delight masks information exchanges that would make modern spy agencies envious of the tradecraft being practiced by women in silk robes and jeweled slippers. The Ottoman harem's tea ceremonies represent the pinnacle of social surveillance, combining genuine hospitality with systematic data collection that influences everything from daily room assignments to long-term strategic planning for imperial succession. The serving arrangements for afternoon tea communicate complex hierarchical relationships through the precise placement of cushions, the quality of porcelain assigned to each participant, and the order in which refreshments are offered. Details so subtle that outsiders would miss their significance entirely, but which convey volumes of information to women trained in reading the visual language of palace politics. Your seating position, relative to the samovar, indicates your current favor level, while the specific blend of tea you're served reflects ongoing evaluations of your political reliability and potential value. Information flows through these gatherings like invisible currency, with women trading rumors about imperial health, speculation about military campaigns, gossip regarding new arrivals, and carefully crafted disinformation designed to confuse rivals and protect valuable intelligence from unauthorized distribution. Your fellow tea drinkers have developed techniques for extracting information that would impress professional interrogators, using methods so subtle that victims often volunteer sensitive information while believing they're simply engaging in friendly conversation. The sweets accompanying your tea represent masterpieces of Ottoman confectionery art, but they also serve as vehicles for testing your cultural knowledge, dietary restrictions, and potential allergies, information that could prove useful for various purposes, ranging from menu planning to more sinister applications. The way you handle unfamiliar treats, your reactions to different flavors, and your appreciation for various presentation styles all contribute to ongoing assessments of your sophistication, adaptability, and potential weaknesses. Guest appearances at these gatherings include senior palace officials, visiting dignitaries' wives, and other imperial household members, who provide opportunities for gathering intelligence about political developments throughout the empire. Your ability to charm information from these visitors while revealing nothing significant about harem internal affairs becomes a crucial skill that's evaluated and reported by multiple observers who understand that such capabilities could prove valuable for advancing imperial interests. The conversation topics during tea service range from apparently innocent discussions about fashion and literature to carefully orchestrated debates about religious interpretation and political philosophy designed to reveal participants' true beliefs and potential loyalties. Your responses to these conversational probes are cataloged and analyzed for signs of dangerous thinking, inappropriate ambitions, or useful talents that might be exploited for various imperial purposes. Musical entertainment during afternoon gatherings provides cover for private conversations conducted in whispers behind strategically positioned instruments, while the performers themselves often function as message carriers who use song lyrics and musical arrangements to convey coded information between different sections of the harem. Your musical preferences and requests become another form of political communication that's monitored by women who understand the symbolic significance of various compositions and performance styles. The jewelry and clothing worn by tea-gathering participants create additional layers of communication through color combinations, gemstone selections, and fabric choices that indicate everything from current romantic interests to political allegiances to warnings about immediate dangers. Your ability to read these visual codes while crafting your own appearance messages becomes essential for surviving the constant information warfare that characterizes harem social interactions. Private conversations conducted during brief moments when official observers are distracted represent the most dangerous and valuable aspects of these gatherings, allowing for the exchange of information too sensitive for public discussion, while creating opportunities for alliance formation and conspiracy planning. These whispered exchanges require split-second timing and extraordinary trust between participants who understand that discovery could result in severe consequences for everyone involved. The tea service schedule creates natural opportunities for observing the daily routines and behavioral patterns of other harem members, information that could prove crucial for planning various activities or avoiding potential conflicts. Your ability to gather this intelligence while maintaining the appearance of casual social participation demonstrates the sophisticated multitasking skills required for harem survival. The cleanup process following tea gatherings provides additional opportunities for intelligence collection as women examine the remnants of conversations, analyze consumption patterns, and search for physical evidence of the various transactions and negotiations that occurred during what appeared to be simple social refreshment. Historians still argue whether Ottoman palace social customs were primarily ceremonial or functional, but you're learning that they serve both purposes simultaneously, while creating multiple opportunities for the kind of information warfare that determined individual fates and imperial policies. Your supervised outdoor time reveals the true nature of your confinement as you discover that even the harem's exercise gardens are designed as maximum security facilities disguised as paradises, complete with guard towers hidden among decorative minarets and security protocols that would make modern prison wardens nod with professional appreciation. The garden walks that seem like gentle recreation are actually carefully choreographed surveillance operations where every step you take is monitored, every conversation is overheard, and every plant you admire might conceal listening devices or observation posts. The exercise garden's layout reflects sophisticated understanding of crowd control and security management, featuring pathways that create natural bottlenecks where guards can observe all movement, landscaping that eliminates hiding spots while maintaining aesthetic beauty, and water features that mask the sounds of conversations while allowing acoustic surveillance from concealed positions. Your daily constitutional becomes a carefully managed security theater where the illusion of freedom serves to make your imprisonment more psychologically tolerable while providing opportunities for gathering intelligence about your behavior patterns and social preferences. The walls surrounding your garden paradise rise higher than most fortress battlements, topped with decorative elements that conceal serious defensive measures including broken glass, razor-sharp metal ornaments, and other deterrents designed to make escape attempts both impossible and potentially fatal. These barriers are disguised so artfully that they enhance rather than detract from the garden's beauty, creating an environment where your prison walls double as architectural masterpieces that demonstrate Ottoman engineering sophistication. Your fellow garden walkers include women at various stages of harem careers, from newcomers like yourself to senior concubines whose presence in the exercise areas represents either punishment for recent failures or strategic positioning for observing and influencing newer arrivals. The garden's social dynamics mirror the broader harem hierarchy, while providing opportunities for informal mentoring, alliance building, and the kind of casual intimidation that helps maintain order without requiring formal disciplinary measures. The plant collections surrounding your walking paths represent botanical treasures from across the Ottoman Empire and beyond, featuring specimens that serve multiple purposes including medicine, poison production, aphrodisiac preparation, and various other applications that reflect the sophisticated pharmaceutical knowledge maintained by palace specialists. Your garden education includes learning to identify plants that could save your life or end it, depending on preparation methods and dosage calculations that remain closely guarded secrets. Exercise activities available during garden time include dancing, stretching routines, and various physical conditioning programs designed to maintain the health and attractiveness of imperial property, while providing opportunities for demonstrating grace, flexibility, and other attributes that influence evaluations of your potential value. These activities are supervised by former dancers and athletes who understand both the physical and political aspects of maintaining optimal condition in a competitive environment. The garden's water features include fountains, streams, and pools that create soothing acoustic environments while serving practical purposes including irrigation, cooling, and providing opportunities for the kind of private conversations that can only occur when background noise masks spoken words from potential eavesdroppers. Your ability to use these acoustic shields effectively becomes another survival skill that requires understanding both the garden's layout and the surveillance protocols that govern outdoor activities. Bird collections housed throughout the exercise areas include exotic species that serve both decorative and functional purposes, with some birds trained to recognize and report unusual human activities, while others simply provide the natural beauty that makes garden imprisonment more psychologically bearable. The avian surveillance network represents one of the more creative security innovations employed by Ottoman palace administrators, who understood that effective monitoring required diverse and unexpected observation methods. Weather considerations affect garden access and activities, with seasonal changes creating different opportunities and restrictions that influence both individual exercise routines and group social dynamics. Your adaptation to these environmental variations demonstrates flexibility and resilience that's noted by supervisors who understand that successful concubines must be able to maintain their effectiveness under changing conditions. The timing of garden activities creates natural opportunities for observing patterns in guard rotations, service schedules, and other operational details that might prove useful for various purposes ranging from planning private meetings to understanding the broader security systems that govern palace life. This intelligence gathering occurs automatically as you participate in seemingly innocent recreational activities. The return journey from garden time to interior chambers involves security procedures that remind you of your true status, while providing final opportunities for outdoor observation and fresh air before returning to the enclosed environments where most harem life occurs. Historians still argue whether Ottoman palace gardens were primarily designed for beauty or security, but your experience suggests they achieve both objectives while creating additional layers of psychological control that make imprisonment seem like privilege rather than punishment. Your needlework sessions transform into masterclasses in political plotting, where every stitch conceals a strategy, and the beautiful textiles you're creating serve as both communication devices and evidence of conspiracies that could reshape the empire's future. The embroidery circles that appear to be peaceful gatherings of women pursuing traditional crafts actually function as war rooms where imperial succession is planned, rival elimination is orchestrated, and the complex alliances that determine Ottoman political stability are formed and dissolved through whispered conversations masked by the gentle clicking of needles against thimbles. The silk threads you're working with represent trade routes that span continents, their colors indicating the precious dyes and materials that demonstrate Ottoman commercial power, while providing opportunities for embedding coded messages within decorative patterns that appear innocent to casual observers, but convey complex political intelligence to those trained in reading textile communications. Your embroidery becomes a form of written language that can survive searches and surveillance while preserving sensitive information for future reference. Your needlework instructors include women whose fingers have stitched their way through decades of palace intrigue, masters of the craft who understand how to create visual codes within traditional patterns, while teaching newcomers the technical skills needed for producing textiles worthy of imperial attention. These senior artisans serve multiple functions as craft teachers, political mentors, and intelligence operatives, who evaluate your potential for various roles within the harem's complex organizational structure. The fabrics you're decorating include materials so expensive that single garments represent the equivalent of annual salaries for government officials, making your needlework sessions exercises in handling imperial property while demonstrating your worthiness for access to such luxury goods. The quality of materials assigned for your use reflects current evaluations of your status and potential, with access to the finest silks and gold threads serving as indicators of rising favor or investment in your future development. Seating arrangements during embroidery sessions create natural opportunities for private conversations between women whose positions allow them to whisper without attracting attention from supervisors, while the concentration required for detailed needlework provides perfect cover for discussions that would be impossible in more formal settings. Your placement within these working groups communicates your current alliances while providing access to information networks that could prove crucial for survival and advancement. The patterns you're learning to create include traditional designs that carry cultural and religious significance, but more importantly, you're mastering techniques for embedding personal messages, political symbols, and coded information within apparently conventional decorative schemes. These skills allow you to participate in sophisticated communication networks that operate through gift exchanges, clothing modifications, and the strategic placement of decorated textiles throughout harem living spaces. Competition between needlework participants creates additional layers of political tension as women compete not just for recognition of their artistic abilities, but for the political advantages that come with producing textiles deemed worthy of imperial attention. Your embroidery could catch the Sultan's eye and elevate your status, or it could be criticized by rivals who understand how to sabotage competing works through subtle alterations that appear accidental but destroy hours of careful labor. The tools of your trade include needles, scissors, and other implements that could serve purposes beyond simple crafting. The same skills used for creating beautiful embroidery could be applied to more sinister activities when political necessity demands creative solutions to personnel problems. Your needlework education includes understanding the dual-purpose nature of craft tools, while maintaining the innocent appearance that allows such dangerous knowledge to remain concealed. Historical examples and cultural traditions discussed during needlework sessions provide frameworks for understanding precedents in palace politics, succession crises, and the various methods previous generations of palace women have used to influence imperial decision-making through strategic application of feminine influence and political intelligence. These historical lessons serve as practical guides for current political challenges while maintaining the appearance of innocent cultural education. Quality control for finished needlework involves evaluations that extend beyond simple artistic merit to include assessments of the political messages embedded within decorative patterns, the potential usefulness of completed textiles for various purposes, and the insights that needlework choices provide into participants' personalities, loyalties, and strategic thinking abilities. The distribution of completed needlework throughout the palace creates opportunities for placing communication devices and surveillance aids in strategic locations, while providing gifts that demonstrate respect, alliance commitments, or subtle threats, depending on the pattern selected and the timing of presentation. Your embroidered creations become political instruments that continue working on your behalf long after the needlework sessions conclude. Historians still argue whether Ottoman palace needlework traditions were primarily artistic or political, but your experience reveals them as sophisticated fusion activities that achieve multiple objectives simultaneously, while providing essential training in the kind of multitasking and strategic thinking that characterizes successful palace survival careers. Your interactions with the eunuch guardians reveal the complex power dynamics of men who've sacrificed their masculinity to achieve positions of extraordinary influence within an empire, where castration becomes the price of admission to roles that control the fate of sultans and the destiny of nations. These guardians represent one of history's most fascinating paradoxes, individuals who gained access to ultimate power through the ultimate personal sacrifice, creating a class of administrators whose loyalty couldn't be compromised by sexual relationships or dynastic ambitions. The chief black eunuch stands as the most powerful person in the harem after the sultan mother, controlling budgets that exceeded the gross domestic product of most European kingdoms, while commanding a network of spies, administrators, and enforcers that would make modern intelligence agencies envious of their reach and effectiveness. Your relationship with this figure could determine every aspect of your future, from daily living conditions to your chances of surviving the various political storms that regularly sweep through palace life like deadly hurricanes. The castration procedures that created these guardians were performed on boys as young as 8 or 9 years old, with survival rates so low that successful candidates represented extraordinary investments in human resources that the empire was determined to maximize through careful training and strategic deployment. Your eunuch supervisors are literally 1 in 10 survivors of processes so brutal that their very existence demonstrates both imperial wealth and the value placed on absolutely reliable service. White eunuchs, typically of European origin, controlled access to male areas of the palace and served as intermediaries between the sultan and the outside world, while black eunuchs, usually from African territories, specialized in harem administration and the complex logistics of managing hundreds of women in environments where every interaction had potential political consequences. Your daily life intersects with both groups in ways that require understanding their different jurisdictions, competing loyalties, and the territorial disputes that sometimes erupted between eunuch factions. The educational backgrounds of your eunuch guardians often surpass those of most university professors, including fluency in multiple languages, expertise in Islamic law, sophisticated understanding of imperial administration, and practical knowledge of everything from architectural engineering to international diplomacy. These men represented the empire's investment in creating administrators whose capabilities matched their absolute loyalty, resulting in a governing class whose competence was as remarkable as their personal sacrifice. Economic control exercised by eunuch administrators extended far beyond simple harem management to include oversight of imperial trade networks, supervision of provincial taxation systems, and management of the complex financial arrangements that sustained Ottoman military and diplomatic operations throughout 3 continents. Your daily comfort depends on decisions made by men whose economic influence rivals that of modern central bank governors. The social relationships between eunuchs and concubines operate according to protocols so complex that minor violations could trigger severe consequences for all parties involved, while successful navigation of these interactions creates opportunities for advancement that might otherwise remain inaccessible. Your ability to establish appropriate relationships with eunuch guardians becomes crucial for accessing resources, information, and protection that could prove essential for survival in crisis situations. Religious authority exercised by eunuch officials includes oversight of educational programs, supervision of Islamic observances, and the complex theological justifications required for various palace practices that might otherwise conflict with traditional religious teachings. These men serve as intermediaries between imperial necessity and religious orthodoxy, creating interpretations that allow the harem system to function within acceptable Islamic frameworks. Intelligence networks controlled by eunuch administrators extend throughout the empire and beyond, collecting information about everything from provincial rebellions to international diplomatic developments that could affect imperial security or economic interests. Your conversations with eunuch guardians might inadvertently contribute to intelligence reports that influence military campaigns or diplomatic negotiations occurring thousands of miles from palace grounds. The health and medical care provided by eunuch-supervised systems includes access to the most advanced medical knowledge available anywhere in the world, featuring physician specialists, sophisticated pharmaceutical preparations, and surgical techniques that wouldn't be matched by European medicine for centuries. Your medical treatment reflects the empire's investment in maintaining valuable human resources while demonstrating the extraordinary capabilities of eunuch administrative systems. Personal relationships between individual eunuchs and specific concubines could develop into mentoring arrangements, political alliances, or protective relationships that significantly influence career trajectories and survival prospects. But these relationships also create vulnerabilities that rivals could exploit through accusations of improper influence or corruption. Historians still argue whether eunuch-concubine relationships were primarily professional or genuinely affectionate. What your experience suggests they encompass the full range of human connection within the constraints imposed by imperial protocol and political necessity. Your afternoon beauty routine becomes a deadly serious preparation for potential imperial inspection, where every cosmetic choice could determine whether you spend tonight in silk-draped luxury or face mysterious morning disappearance from palace records. The Ottoman beauty standards that govern your transformation require understanding not just current imperial preferences, but also the subtle signals that indicate whether your appearance communicates submission, ambition, or the dangerous combination of beauty and intelligence that has historically triggered elimination of perceived threats to established hierarchies. The cosmetics applied to your face include substances imported from corners of the empire that most people will never see, featuring antimony for darkening eyes, henna for creating intricate hand decorations, and various mineral preparations that enhance skin tone while potentially serving secondary purposes related to health maintenance or strategic poisoning, depending on preparation methods and application techniques. Your makeup artist possesses knowledge of chemistry that rivals university-trained scholars, while maintaining the discretion necessary for survival in an environment where cosmetic expertise intersects with political warfare. Hair preparation for potential imperial attention involves techniques passed down through generations of successful concubines, including oil treatments that create lustrous shine, styling methods that demonstrate cultural sophistication, and ornamental arrangements that communicate your availability for imperial favor, while reflecting current fashion trends that change according to the Sultan's evolving aesthetic preferences. The time invested in hair preparation reflects the understanding that imperial attention often focuses on details that might seem insignificant to outsiders but carry enormous significance within palace protocols. Perfume selection requires understanding the psychological effects of different scent combinations, the cultural associations of various fragrance families, and the practical considerations of choosing perfumes that enhance rather than compete with your natural body chemistry while appealing to imperial preferences that might change without warning. Your perfume could attract imperial attention or trigger negative associations that doom your chances before any direct interaction occurs. Clothing choices for inspection preparation involve navigating complex protocols that dictate appropriate fabrics, colors, and styles while allowing for personal expression that demonstrates your unique qualities without violating regulations that could result in disciplinary measures. The garments selected for your potential presentation represent compromises between imperial requirements, current fashion trends, and strategic considerations about the impression you want to create during what might be your only opportunity for direct imperial observation. Jewelry assignments reflect your current status while providing opportunities for subtle communication through symbol selection, gemstone choices, and arrangement patterns that convey messages about your background, aspirations, and political alignments. The jewelry you wear becomes a form of nonverbal communication that could influence imperial impressions while serving practical purposes, including status identification and alliance signaling. Physical conditioning for potential selection includes exercises designed to enhance posture, develop graceful movement patterns, and maintain the energy levels necessary for extended imperial interactions that might last through the night and into the following day. Your physical preparation reflects understanding that imperial attention often involves more than simple visual inspection, requiring stamina and performance capabilities that could determine your success in advancing through the concubine hierarchy. Mental preparation for imperial inspection involves rehearsing conversation topics, practicing appropriate responses to various forms of imperial inquiry, and developing the psychological resilience necessary for maintaining composure during interactions where every word and gesture is evaluated for signs of intelligence, loyalty, and entertainment value. Your mental state during inspection could prove more important than your physical appearance in determining whether you receive ongoing imperial attention. Competition management during preparation periods requires understanding which other women might be selected for simultaneous inspection, their strengths and weaknesses relative to your own capabilities, and the strategic considerations that might influence comparative evaluations when multiple candidates are presented together. Your preparation strategy must account for the possibility that imperial selection involves relative, rather than absolute assessments of candidate suitability. Quality control for inspection preparation includes final evaluations by senior concubines who understand current imperial preferences while possessing the authority to make last-minute adjustments that could enhance your prospects or deliberately sabotage your appearance if political considerations favor other candidates. These final preparations represent the culmination of months or years of training, while serving as potential battlegrounds where rival factions attempt to influence selection outcomes. The timing of inspection calls creates additional pressure because preparation routines must be completed within strict deadlines while maintaining the appearance of effortless beauty that conceals the enormous time and expertise invested in creating optimal presentation conditions. Your ability to manage preparation stress while maintaining attractive appearance demonstrates the psychological resilience that imperial service requires. Historians still argue whether Ottoman beauty standards were primarily aesthetic or political, but your preparation experience reveals them as sophisticated systems for evaluating candidate suitability across multiple dimensions while providing opportunities for demonstrating the self-discipline and strategic thinking that characterize successful imperial concubines. Your heart pounds with a mixture of terror and desperate hope as the silk-clad messenger announces that you've been selected for an imperial summons, transforming your ordinary afternoon into a potentially life-altering encounter where every gesture, word, and expression will be scrutinized by the most powerful man in one of history's greatest empires. The call to imperial service represents the moment every concubine simultaneously dreams of and dreads, offering possibilities for elevation to heights of luxury and influence, while carrying equal potential for catastrophic failure that could result in immediate elimination or slow exile to palace dungeons. The escort protocol for imperial summons involves a carefully choreographed procession through palace corridors designed to demonstrate imperial power while providing final opportunities for psychological preparation and strategic planning. Your journey to the imperial presence becomes a gauntlet of observation posts where palace officials evaluate your composure under pressure, while fellow concubines watch for signs of favor or weakness that could affect their own prospects for future selection. The chambers where imperial encounters occur represent architectural masterpieces designed to overwhelm visitors with demonstrations of wealth, power, and sophisticated aesthetic achievement that communicates the empire's cultural supremacy while creating psychological environments that facilitate the kind of awed submission that makes imperial authority seem natural and inevitable. Your first glimpse of these spaces could determine your psychological state during the crucial initial moments of imperial interaction. Imperial protocol governing concubine behavior during summons includes complex rules about eye contact, speech patterns, physical positioning, and response timing that must be followed precisely to avoid giving offense while allowing for personal expression that demonstrates your unique qualities and entertainment value. These protocols reflect centuries of refinement based on imperial preferences and the accumulated wisdom of successful concubines, whose careers provide guidance for optimal performance strategies. The entertainment expectations for imperial encounters encompass multiple performance categories including conversation, music, poetry recitation, dance, and various forms of intellectual discourse that demonstrate your educational accomplishments while providing the Sultan with diversions from the burdens of governing an empire that spans 3 continents. Your performance repertoire becomes crucial for maintaining imperial attention through extended interactions that might determine your future status. Conversation topics deemed appropriate for imperial discourse include current events, cultural commentary, artistic criticism, and carefully selected personal anecdotes that reveal your character while avoiding subjects that might trigger imperial displeasure or political complications. Your ability to navigate these conversational requirements while maintaining authenticity demonstrates the sophisticated social skills that distinguish successful concubines from those who fail to achieve lasting imperial favor. The evaluation criteria used during imperial encounters extend beyond simple physical attraction to include assessments of intelligence, creativity, cultural sophistication, emotional compatibility, and the indefinable quality of personal magnetism that make certain individuals memorable in ways that transcend their specific accomplishments. Your performance during this encounter will be analyzed according to standards that balance imperial preferences with strategic considerations about political reliability and long-term utility. Security measures surrounding imperial encounters include multiple layers of surveillance designed to ensure both imperial safety and accurate documentation of interactions that might influence future decisions about your status, assignments, and survival prospects. Every moment of your imperial encounter is observed and recorded by specialists whose reports will determine whether you receive additional opportunities or face the consequences of disappointing imperial expectations. The psychological pressures of imperial performance include managing stage fright while maintaining natural charm, demonstrating confidence without appearing arrogant, showing intelligence without seeming threatening, and expressing ambition while maintaining appropriate submission to imperial authority. These psychological challenges require extraordinary self-control and strategic thinking that few individuals can sustain under the intense pressure of imperial scrutiny. Gift presentation opportunities during imperial encounters allow you to demonstrate thoughtfulness, cultural knowledge, and understanding of imperial preferences while providing tangible expressions of your desire to please and serve imperial interests. The gifts you offer become symbols of your intentions while serving practical purposes, including entertainment value and strategic communication of your capabilities and loyalties. Recovery procedures following imperial encounters include debriefing sessions, where your performance is evaluated by senior palace officials who understand the nuances of imperial behavior and can provide guidance for future interactions while assessing whether your encounter produced positive results or created problems that require damage control measures. The aftermath of imperial summons influences your status, regardless of the encounter's apparent success, with political ramifications that extend throughout the harem hierarchy as other women evaluate the implications of your selection and performance for their own prospects and strategies. Historians still argue whether imperial concubine selection was primarily based on personal preference or political calculation, but your experience suggests that both factors operate simultaneously in ways that make every imperial encounter a complex negotiation between individual attraction and strategic imperial interests. Your evening meal in the Sultan's presence transforms dining into a performance art where every bite must demonstrate perfect etiquette while navigating conversation topics that could determine whether you see tomorrow's sunrise or disappear into the palace's darker corners before dawn. The imperial dining protocol requires you to eat with apparent enjoyment while remaining alert for subtle tests, hidden meanings in seemingly innocent comments, and the complex signals that indicate whether your presence is enhancing or detracting from the Sultan's evening entertainment. The imperial dining chamber overwhelms your senses with demonstrations of Ottoman wealth that include gold-plated serving dishes worth more than entire provinces, crystal goblets crafted by master artisans whose techniques remain trade secrets, and furniture inlaid with precious stones arranged in patterns that tell stories of military victories and territorial conquests spanning 3 continents. Your ability to appreciate these luxuries without appearing overwhelmed demonstrates the sophisticated cultural education that distinguishes valuable concubines from provincial newcomers. Menu selection for imperial dining includes delicacies from across the known world, featuring ingredients so rare that their acquisition requires dedicated trade expeditions and diplomatic negotiations with distant kingdoms. Your meal might include spices from Indonesian islands, fruits from Persian gardens, seafood from Mediterranean coastal regions, and preparations that combine culinary traditions from multiple cultures in ways that demonstrate the empire's cosmopolitan sophistication, while testing your adaptability to unfamiliar flavors and textures. Conversation management during imperial dining requires understanding which topics interest the Sultan, while avoiding subjects that might trigger imperial displeasure or unwanted political discussions that could compromise your carefully cultivated image as entertaining rather than threatening company. Your ability to balance intellectual engagement with appropriate deference becomes crucial for maintaining imperial attention while avoiding the dangerous territory of appearing too knowledgeable about sensitive political matters. Poison detection protocols govern every aspect of imperial dining, from the tasting procedures performed by specialized servants to the careful observation of your own reactions to various dishes that might reveal useful information about your health, background, or potential vulnerabilities. The imperial meal becomes a complex security operation disguised as social dining, where your survival depends on understanding the safety measures while appearing to enjoy spontaneous culinary experiences. Service staff attending imperial dinners include carefully selected individuals whose loyalties have been tested through years of palace service, but whose presence also creates opportunities for intelligence gathering and subtle communication that could influence your imperial standing. Your interactions with serving personnel require diplomatic skills that acknowledge their importance while maintaining appropriate status distinctions that demonstrate your understanding of palace hierarchy. Entertainment expectations during imperial dining include your ability to provide amusing conversation, insightful commentary on cultural topics, and perhaps musical or poetic performances that enhance the meal's enjoyment while demonstrating your educational accomplishments. The imperial expectation that concubines serve as dinner companions requires preparation in topics ranging from current military campaigns to philosophical discussions about governance and cultural development. Etiquette violations during imperial dining could range from minor social errors that merely demonstrate need for additional training to serious breaches of protocol that might be interpreted as deliberate insults requiring immediate disciplinary response. Your dining behavior becomes a continuous examination where success requires perfect execution of complex social requirements while maintaining the appearance of natural grace and confidence. Cultural sensitivity during conversation requires understanding the imperial perspective on various political and social issues while expressing opinions that demonstrate independent thinking without challenging fundamental imperial policies or suggesting alternative approaches to governance that might be interpreted as criticism of current administration methods. This intellectual tightrope walking requires extraordinary diplomatic skills and cultural awareness. Gift presentation opportunities during imperial dining might include small tokens of appreciation, artistic creations that demonstrate your talents, or carefully selected items that reflect understanding of imperial interests and preferences. These offerings become communication devices that express your intentions while providing opportunities for demonstrating thoughtfulness and cultural sophistication. Strategic positioning during imperial dining includes understanding where to sit, how to arrange your clothing for optimal visual effect, and managing your physical presence in ways that maintain imperial attention while respecting appropriate social boundaries. Your spatial awareness and physical grace become additional forms of performance that contribute to overall imperial impressions. The conclusion of imperial dining creates opportunities for extended conversation, artistic performance, or other activities that might determine whether your evening encounter leads to overnight imperial companionship or dismissal to regular harem quarters. The transition from dining to potential intimate interaction requires understanding imperial preferences while maintaining the psychological flexibility necessary for adapting to changing expectations and opportunities. Historians still argue whether Ottoman imperial dining customs were primarily ceremonial or functional, but your experience reveals them as sophisticated systems for evaluating concubine suitability while providing enjoyable social experiences that balance imperial entertainment needs with the political requirements of maintaining palace hierarchy and security protocols. Your transition into the intimate sphere of imperial companionship introduces you to responsibilities and expectations that extend far beyond simple physical presence, revealing the complex psychological and political dimensions of concubinage, where pregnancy could elevate you to unprecedented heights of power or mark you for elimination by rivals who understand that motherhood represents the ultimate prize and ultimate danger in harem politics. The Sultan's private chambers become a battlefield where personal intimacy intersects with imperial succession planning, creating scenarios where your body becomes both sanctuary and weapon in struggles that determine the empire's future. The imperial bedchamber represents the most secure and surveilled space in the entire palace complex, featuring architectural elements designed to prevent assassination while providing the luxury and comfort appropriate for the ruler of one of history's greatest empires. Your presence in these chambers marks you as either a trusted intimate or a potential security threat, depending on political circumstances and the ongoing evaluations that determine whether your access represents reward or risk to imperial safety. Physical expectations for imperial companionship encompass more than simple intimacy, including your ability to provide emotional support, intellectual stimulation, and the kind of personal connection that allows powerful rulers to experience moments of genuine human relationship despite the isolation that comes with absolute authority. Your role becomes that of confidant, entertainer, and companion whose value depends on understanding the psychological needs of men who rule millions while trusting very few. Pregnancy possibilities create the most significant opportunities and dangers of concubine life, as bearing imperial children could transform your status from disposable entertainment to mother of potential heirs whose survival becomes essential for political stability. However, pregnancy also triggers deadly competition from other concubines and their political allies who understand that successful motherhood eliminates competitors while creating new threats to their own advancement prospects. Security protocols governing imperial intimacy include surveillance measures designed to document interactions while protecting imperial privacy, creating environments where your most private moments become matters of state record that could influence future political decisions about your status, reliability, and potential threat level. The paradox of intimate surveillance requires adapting to constant observation while maintaining the natural behavior that makes companionship genuine rather than performative. Contraception and reproductive management represent crucial skills that could determine your survival in an environment where pregnancy timing affects political stability and your personal safety. Understanding traditional methods for preventing or encouraging conception becomes essential knowledge that must be applied with perfect timing to avoid either unwanted political complications or missed opportunities for advancement through strategic motherhood. Emotional intelligence requirements for successful imperial companionship include understanding the psychological pressures that affect rulers of vast empires, while providing the kind of personal support that doesn't compromise imperial authority or create emotional dependencies that might influence political decision-making. Your ability to offer comfort without appearing to manipulate becomes crucial for maintaining imperial favor while avoiding accusations of improper influence. Communication skills during intimate encounters require balancing honest expression with strategic discretion, sharing personal thoughts and feelings, while understanding which topics are appropriate for discussion and which subjects might create political complications or security concerns. Your conversational abilities become tools for building genuine connection while maintaining appropriate boundaries that protect both imperial authority and your personal safety. Cultural performance expectations include your ability to embody the aesthetic and behavioral ideals that represent Ottoman refinement, while maintaining personal authenticity that makes interactions meaningful rather than merely ceremonial. This balance between cultural conformity and individual expression requires sophisticated understanding of imperial preferences and the flexibility to adapt your presentation according to changing circumstances and moods. Power dynamics during imperial intimacy create complex scenarios where apparent submission masks real influence, while expressions of personal agency must be carefully calibrated to avoid challenging imperial authority, while demonstrating the intelligence and independence that make companionship intellectually stimulating. Understanding these dynamics becomes essential for navigating relationships where power imbalances could either enhance or destroy your prospects for long-term survival. Recovery and transition periods following intimate encounters include protocols for managing your return to regular harem life while processing the political implications of imperial attention that might affect your relationships with other concubines and palace officials. These transitions require diplomatic skills for managing changed circumstances while maintaining the social relationships necessary for ongoing survival and advancement. Documentation and reporting systems ensure that your imperial encounters are recorded for political and administrative purposes that extend beyond simple record-keeping to include assessments of your influence potential, loyalty indicators, and evaluations that determine future access to imperial attention. Understanding that your most private moments become political intelligence requires extraordinary psychological resilience and strategic thinking. Historians still argue whether Ottoman imperial intimacy was primarily personal or political, but your experience reveals the impossibility of separating these dimensions in environments where individual relationships carry implications for imperial succession, political stability, and the complex balance of power that maintained one of history's most sophisticated governmental systems. Your sleeping arrangements reveal the precise mathematics of harem hierarchy, where every thread in your bed sheets and every inch of your allocated space communicates your exact position in the social ecosystem that determines whether you sleep in silk-draped luxury or share cramped quarters with women whose failed ambitions serve as daily reminders of how quickly imperial favor can transform into dangerous irrelevance. The bedroom assignments function as both reward systems and punishment mechanisms, with promotions and demotions reflected in accommodations that range from palace apartments fit for nobility to dormitory-style chambers where unsuccessful concubines fade into anonymous obscurity. The architectural hierarchy of harem sleeping quarters creates a complex geography of privilege, where proximity to imperial chambers indicates current favor, while distance signals declining status or potential elimination from active service. Your room assignment communicates volumes about your prospects, while determining your access to information networks, alliance opportunities, and the subtle privileges that accumulate into significant advantages from navigating palace politics and survival challenges. Furniture quality in your sleeping chamber reflects not just imperial wealth, but also strategic investments in human resources deemed worthy of comfort and maintenance, with sleeping surfaces, storage facilities, and decorative elements that indicate whether palace administrators consider you valuable property, requiring careful preservation, or expendable inventory that can be maintained with minimal investment. The comfort level of your accommodations directly affects your physical health and psychological resilience for managing the stresses of harem life. Privacy levels vary dramatically according to sleeping arrangements that range from completely private apartments for the most favored concubines to shared rooms where multiple women navigate the challenges of maintaining personal space while managing the complex social dynamics that emerge when competitors are forced into intimate proximity. Your privacy arrangements determine both your security and your vulnerability to various forms of social pressure and political manipulation. Security measures protecting different sleeping areas include varying levels of surveillance, guard presence, and access control that reflect assessments of threats and value associated with different categories of concubines. Your security protection indicates not just current status, but also ongoing evaluations of your importance to imperial interests and the potential consequences if harm were to befall you through accident or deliberate action. Roommate assignments, when privacy isn't available, create additional layers of political complexity as palace administrators use sleeping arrangements to manage alliances, monitor conversations, and control information flow between different factions within the harem hierarchy. Your sleeping companions might be allies, spies, or rivals, depending on current political calculations and strategic objectives that extend beyond simple space management. Climate control in sleeping quarters includes heating and cooling systems that demonstrate Ottoman engineering sophistication while providing comfort levels that affect health, appearance, and psychological well-being in ways that influence your ability to compete effectively within the harem's demanding social environment. Temperature regulation becomes another form of privilege distribution that affects individual performance and survival prospects. Storage facilities for personal belongings reflect both the quantity of possessions you're permitted to accumulate and the security measures protecting items that might include gifts, correspondence, or other materials that could serve various political purposes. Your storage allowances indicate trust levels while determining your ability to maintain the personal resources that support survival and advancement strategies. Lighting arrangements in sleeping quarters include oil lamps, candles, and other illumination sources that affect both practical functionality and aesthetic appeal, while creating opportunities for various activities, including reading, crafting, and private conversations that might require careful timing to avoid unwanted observation. Light management becomes another skill set required for maximizing privacy and security in environments where constant surveillance creates challenges for any activity requiring discretion. Decoration allowances for personalizing sleeping spaces provide opportunities for expressing individual taste while communicating cultural knowledge, artistic appreciation, and strategic messages through color choices, artistic selections, and arrangement patterns that influence both personal comfort and social signaling within the harem's complex communication systems. Your decorating choices become forms of political expression that require careful consideration of their potential interpretations. Cleaning and maintenance services for sleeping quarters include staff assignments that reflect status while providing opportunities for intelligence gathering through interactions with servants who might serve multiple masters and carry information between different areas of palace administration. The quality and frequency of cleaning services affect both comfort and security while creating potential vulnerabilities through access granted to service personnel. Wake-up protocols and morning routines vary according to sleeping arrangements that determine how you begin each day, while affecting your preparation time for various activities and responsibilities. Your morning schedule becomes another indicator of status, while influencing your ability to participate effectively in the complex social and political activities that characterize daily harem life. Transition procedures for changing sleeping arrangements reflect the fluid nature of harem hierarchies, while creating opportunities and vulnerabilities associated with movements between different status levels and social groups. Understanding these transition processes becomes essential for managing the psychological and practical challenges of navigating an environment where circumstances can change rapidly based on factors beyond individual control. Historians still argue whether Ottoman sleeping arrangements were primarily about status display or practical administration, but your experience reveals them as sophisticated systems for managing human resources while reinforcing social hierarchies through environmental controls that affect both individual well-being and group dynamics in ways that support overall palace stability and imperial authority. Your encounters with palace physicians reveal the terrifying duality of Ottoman medical care, where the same doctors who possess healing knowledge that surpasses European universities by centuries could also serve as instruments of elimination for concubines whose continued existence has become politically inconvenient. The medical practitioners attending to harem health operate within a system where therapeutic intervention and strategic poisoning represent different applications of the same pharmaceutical expertise, making every medical consultation a potential life or death gamble that requires understanding both genuine health needs and political circumstances that might influence treatment decisions. The palace medical system includes physicians trained in multiple traditions, Islamic medicine derived from Greek and Persian sources, traditional remedies from across the Ottoman territories, and innovative techniques developed specifically for treating the unique health challenges that arise in harem environments, where stress, competition, and various forms of psychological pressure create medical conditions rarely encountered in general populations. Your medical care reflects the empire's investment in maintaining valuable human resources, while demonstrating the sophisticated scientific knowledge that characterizes Ottoman intellectual achievement. Diagnostic procedures conducted by palace physicians include examinations that serve multiple purposes beyond simple health assessment, with medical consultations providing opportunities for gathering intelligence about your physical condition, psychological state, and potential vulnerabilities that might prove useful for various administrative purposes. Your medical records become political documents that influence decisions about assignments, privileges, and survival prospects in ways that extend far beyond immediate health concerns. Pharmaceutical preparations available through Palace Medical Services include remedies so exotic and expensive that single doses might cost more than most people earn in months, featuring ingredients imported from distant continents and preparation methods that represent closely guarded professional secrets passed down through generations of court physicians. However, the same expertise that creates miraculous healing compounds can be applied to producing substances with very different objectives when political necessity demands alternative applications of medical knowledge. Treatment protocols for common harem ailments include remedies for the stress-related conditions, nutritional deficiencies, and psychological disorders that frequently affect women living under the intense pressures of palace life. But these treatments must be evaluated carefully, because medical intervention could either genuinely address health problems or serve as cover for introducing substances that create new problems designed to appear like natural illness progression. Poison detection and treatment represent crucial aspects of palace medical practice, with physicians trained to recognize and counteract the various toxic substances that might be employed by rivals seeking to eliminate competition through methods that appear like accidental illness or natural health decline. Your survival might depend on understanding which medical symptoms indicate genuine illness versus deliberate poisoning that requires immediate antidote administration and political countermeasures. Pregnancy management and reproductive health services provided by palace physicians include both prenatal care for concubines who achieve pregnancy and various forms of contraceptive assistance for those seeking to control reproductive timing according to strategic considerations. Medical intervention in reproductive matters becomes particularly sensitive because pregnancy outcomes affect imperial succession while creating political complications that extend throughout the harem hierarchy and broader imperial administration. Mental health support available through Palace Medical Services includes treatments for the anxiety, depression, and various psychological disorders that commonly affect women living under extreme social pressure. But accessing mental health services also creates vulnerabilities because psychological weakness could be interpreted as liability that affects your value and survival prospects within the harem's competitive environment. Surgical procedures performed by palace physicians include both emergency interventions for injuries and accidents, as well as elective operations that might enhance appearance or address various health issues. But surgical vulnerability creates opportunities for deliberate complications that could eliminate patients while maintaining plausible medical explanations for unfortunate outcomes that appear accidental rather than intentional. Medical record-keeping systems document every aspect of your healthcare, while creating intelligence databases that track physical condition, psychological stability, reproductive status, and various other factors that influence political evaluations of your continued utility and potential threats. Your medical history becomes part of your political profile in ways that affect decisions extending far beyond immediate health concerns. Drug interactions and side effects from various medications present additional risks in environments where multiple substances might be administered simultaneously for different purposes, creating opportunities for accidental or deliberate complications that could prove fatal while appearing to result from medical errors rather than intentional harm. Access to medical care itself becomes a privilege that reflects current political standing while determining your ability to maintain the health and appearance necessary for competing effectively within the harem's demanding social environment. Medical neglect represents another form of elimination that avoids direct confrontation while achieving the same ultimate objectives through apparent natural causes. Historians still argue whether Ottoman palace medicine was primarily therapeutic or political. But your experience reveals the impossibility of separating these functions in environments where individual health affects imperial interests and medical practitioners must navigate complex loyalties that extend far beyond traditional physician-patient relationships. Your spiritual life becomes another carefully monitored battlefield, where Islamic devotion serves both genuine religious purposes and sophisticated political theater as your prayers, fasting, and religious observances are scrutinized for signs of proper submission to divine authority that mirrors the absolute obedience required for imperial service. The palace mosque attendance records track not just your religious compliance, but also your social interactions, alliance patterns, and the subtle ways that shared spiritual practices create networks of mutual support and potential conspiracy among women seeking solace from the relentless pressures of harem existence. Religious instruction in the palace includes Islamic theology taught by scholars whose expertise rivals the finest madrasas throughout the empire. But these educational sessions also function as indoctrination programs designed to reinforce imperial authority through theological frameworks that justify the sultan's divine mandate while discouraging any religious interpretations that might support resistance to established hierarchies. Your religious education becomes a form of political training disguised as spiritual development, teaching submission to earthly authority as preparation for submission to divine will. Prayer schedule compliance creates daily opportunities for demonstrating religious devotion while providing structured times for reflection, meditation, and the kind of psychological preparation necessary for surviving the constant stress of political competition and social warfare. However, prayer times also create vulnerabilities because religious observance requires predictable schedules and physical positioning that could be exploited by rivals seeking opportunities for various forms of interference or harm. Islamic law interpretations governing harem life include complex regulations about appropriate behavior, permissible activities, and the theological justifications for practices that might otherwise conflict with traditional religious teachings about female autonomy and social relationships. Your understanding of these interpretations becomes essential for navigating situations where religious compliance and survival requirements might create conflicting obligations that require sophisticated theological reasoning to resolve safely. Religious festival celebrations provide opportunities for communal gathering, cultural expression, and temporary relaxation of normal social restrictions. But these occasions also create additional security challenges and political complications as different factions within the harem attempt to use religious celebrations for advancing various agendas, while maintaining appropriate spiritual reverence. Charitable activities organized through religious programs include opportunities for demonstrating Islamic virtue through service to less fortunate members of society. But charitable participation also creates intelligence gathering opportunities and potential security risks, as religious service brings contact with people and information from outside the palace walls. Your charitable activities become another form of political expression that requires careful management to avoid unwanted complications. Religious dietary restrictions and halal food requirements create additional complexity for meal planning and social dining, while providing opportunities for demonstrating cultural authenticity and religious commitment that could influence imperial perceptions of your character and reliability. Food preparation, according to Islamic law, becomes another area where religious practice intersects with political considerations and personal safety concerns. Pilgrimage aspirations and religious travel represent theoretical possibilities that could provide spiritual fulfillment, while creating practical complications related to security, political reliability, and the various forms of surveillance and control that govern all aspects of concubine existence. Religious travel becomes a privilege that reflects enormous trust, while creating vulnerabilities that might be exploited by various parties with interests in intelligence gathering or political manipulation. Islamic education for any children you might bear becomes a crucial consideration because religious instruction affects imperial succession planning, while providing opportunities for influencing future political developments through strategic theological education. Your role in shaping the religious development of potential heirs creates both opportunities for long-term influence and immediate dangers for rivals who understand the political implications of religious instruction. Religious counseling and spiritual guidance available through palace religious authorities provide support for managing the psychological and moral challenges of harem life, while creating additional surveillance opportunities as religious advisors report on your spiritual state, moral reliability, and potential ideological threats to imperial authority. Seeking religious guidance becomes another political calculation that requires weighing spiritual benefits against security risks. Theological debates and religious discussions within the harem create opportunities for intellectual stimulation and cultural expression, while providing platforms for subtle political communication through religious metaphors and scriptural interpretations that allow for indirect commentary on current circumstances and political developments. Religious authority structures within the palace include female religious leaders who provide spiritual guidance specifically tailored to the unique circumstances of harem life. But these religious authorities also serve administrative functions that blur the boundaries between spiritual counseling and political supervision in ways that require careful navigation to access religious support without creating political vulnerabilities. Historians still argue whether Ottoman religious practice was primarily spiritual or political, but your experience reveals the impossibility of separating these dimensions in environments where individual salvation intersects with imperial authority and religious devotion becomes another form of political performance that affects survival prospects and advancement opportunities. Your observation of the deadly dynamics surrounding motherhood in the harem reveals why bearing imperial children represents both the ultimate triumph and most dangerous situation any concubine can achieve. As successful pregnancy transforms you from expendable entertainment into a political force whose survival becomes essential for imperial succession, while simultaneously marking you for elimination by rivals who understand that mothers of princes represent existential threats to their own advancement prospects. The moment you conceive an imperial heir, you enter a game where the stakes escalate from personal survival to dynastic control of one of history's most powerful empires. The Sultan Mother, or Valid Sultan, represents the pinnacle of female power within the Ottoman system, wielding influence that extends throughout imperial administration while commanding resources and authority that rival government ministers and military commanders. Your potential elevation to this status through successful motherhood creates enemies among women whose own maternal ambitions require eliminating competitors before they can establish the political foundations necessary for protecting themselves and their children through the dangerous early years of imperial childhood. Pregnancy protection protocols for expectant imperial mothers include elaborate security measures designed to prevent miscarriage through poisoning, ensure proper nutrition and medical care, and monitor the complex political dynamics that surround every aspect of prenatal development when the unborn child represents potential imperial succession. Your pregnancy becomes a matter of state security, requiring protection strategies that transform your daily existence into carefully managed isolation designed to maximize survival prospects for both mother and child. Rival elimination strategies employed by competing maternal factions include sophisticated campaigns of psychological warfare, strategic alliance building, and various forms of direct intervention ranging from subtle harassment to more decisive measures designed to prevent successful pregnancies or eliminate potential threats before they can establish secure political positions. The mother's game represents palace politics at its most ruthless level, where maternal instincts combine with imperial ambitions to create conflicts that make ordinary harem rivalries seem like children's disagreements. Child survival challenges in the imperial succession system include not just the normal health risks associated with infant mortality, but also the political dangers that affect imperial children whose existence threatens other potential heirs and their maternal protectors. Successful motherhood requires protecting children from various threats, including deliberate harm disguised as accidents, illness, or natural childhood mishaps that eliminate succession competitors while maintaining plausible alternative explanations. Educational control battles emerge as imperial mothers compete for influence over their children's intellectual and cultural development. Understanding that educational choices affect political formation and future leadership capabilities in ways that determine which princes will be capable of effective rule and which might be eliminated from succession consideration due to perceived inadequacies or inappropriate ideological development. Alliance formation among imperial mothers creates complex political networks where maternal cooperation and competition exist simultaneously, as women seek mutual protection while positioning their own children for succession advantages. These alliances shift according to changing circumstances and relative positions within the succession hierarchy, creating fluid political landscapes where today's allies might become tomorrow's deadly enemies. Succession law complications arise from Ottoman practices that theoretically allow any imperial son to inherit the throne, while practically requiring elimination of potential competitors to prevent civil wars and dynastic conflicts. Imperial mothers must navigate legal frameworks that make their children both potential heirs and potential targets for elimination by whoever ultimately achieves succession to the throne. Financial resources available to imperial mothers include substantial allowances and property rights that provide economic independence while creating opportunities for funding various political activities, including alliance building, intelligence operations, and protective measures designed to ensure family survival through succession crises and political upheavals. Regional influence opportunities emerge as imperial mothers are sometimes assigned governance roles in provincial territories, providing platforms for developing independent power bases while creating vulnerabilities associated with distance from central imperial protection and the various local political complications that affect imperial representatives operating in diverse cultural and political environments. Diplomatic functions performed by imperial mothers include representing imperial interests in negotiations with foreign powers, managing relationships with provincial governors and military commanders, and serving as intermediaries in complex political situations where imperial authority requires feminine diplomatic approaches that complement traditional masculine expressions of imperial power. Retirement and succession planning for imperial mothers involves preparing for the transition periods that accompany changes in imperial leadership, understanding that new sultans often eliminate potential threats from previous reigns while establishing their own political systems that might not include roles for former imperial mothers whose continued influence could complicate new administrative arrangements. Historical precedent studies reveal patterns in the treatment of imperial mothers across different reigns and political circumstances, providing guidance for strategic planning while highlighting the various factors that determine whether imperial motherhood leads to long-term security and influence or eventual elimination when political circumstances change and maternal protection becomes liability rather than asset. Historians still argue whether imperial motherhood was primarily about personal advancement or genuine maternal devotion, but your observations reveal it as complex fusion of both motivations that creates political dynamics where individual survival instincts and family protection needs combine to produce some of the most sophisticated and dangerous political strategies ever developed by women, operating within systems designed to limit feminine political participation. Your participation in seasonal celebrations reveals how festival times transform from joyous cultural expressions into intensified periods of political maneuvering, where the relaxed social atmospheres and special privileges create both opportunities for advancement and increased vulnerabilities to elimination schemes that exploit the temporary disruption of normal security protocols. The palace festivals that celebrate religious holidays, military victories, and imperial birthdays provide perfect cover for various forms of intrigue because the heightened emotions, altered routines, and expanded social interactions create numerous opportunities for both remarkable advancement and spectacular downfall. Ramadan observances in the palace combine genuine spiritual devotion with sophisticated political theater, as the fasting requirements and evening celebrations create altered daily rhythms that affect surveillance patterns, social hierarchies, and the complex timing of various activities that might be planned to coincide with reduced security attention during religious observances. Your participation in Ramadan becomes both spiritual practice and political performance, as the month-long observance creates extended opportunities for demonstrating religious devotion while navigating the social complications that emerge when normal eating schedules are disrupted. New Year celebrations, according to both Islamic and solar calendars, create multiple festival periods throughout the year, each offering distinct opportunities for gift-giving, entertainment performances, and social advancement, while simultaneously providing increased opportunities for rivals to implement various schemes during periods when palace routines are disrupted by celebratory activities and special events that require modified security arrangements. Military victory celebrations transform the palace into stages for patriotic demonstrations, where your enthusiasm for imperial success must be carefully calibrated to demonstrate appropriate loyalty while avoiding the appearance of excessive political interest that might suggest dangerous ambitions or inappropriate knowledge about military affairs that should remain outside concubine awareness and concern. Imperial birthday festivities create annual opportunities for presenting gifts and entertainment that could significantly influence your standing, while requiring investments of time, resources, and creative energy that might exceed your available means and capabilities, making festival participation another form of competitive examination, where success requires resources and talents that distinguish exceptional performers from ordinary participants. Religious pilgrimage celebrations honor those who have completed Hajj or other spiritual journeys, creating opportunities for demonstrating Islamic knowledge and spiritual commitment, while providing platforms for subtle political communication through religious metaphors and scriptural references that allow for indirect commentary on current circumstances and personal aspirations. Seasonal transition festivals mark changes in weather and agricultural cycles while providing opportunities for demonstrating cultural knowledge about Ottoman traditions, regional customs, and the complex calendar systems that govern imperial administration and social life throughout the diverse territories that comprise the empire. Wedding celebrations for imperial family members create elaborate social events where your participation demonstrates loyalty, while providing opportunities for observing political dynamics, forming new alliances, and gathering intelligence about succession planning and family relationships that affect imperial stability and your own survival prospects. Festival gift exchanges create opportunities for demonstrating thoughtfulness, cultural sophistication, and understanding of individual preferences while requiring strategic calculations about appropriate gift values, symbolic meanings, and the political messages that various presents might communicate to recipients and observers who analyze gift-giving patterns for insights into alliance formations and political intentions. Entertainment performances during festivals provide platforms for displaying artistic talents while creating vulnerabilities associated with public performance, where mistakes or inappropriate expressions could trigger negative consequences that extend far beyond simple artistic criticism, to include political interpretations of performance choices and cultural presentations. Food preparation and feast management during festivals involve collaboration between different harem factions, while creating opportunities for various forms of interference, including deliberate contamination, strategic poisoning, and other methods for eliminating rivals during periods when unusual foods and altered meal schedules provide perfect cover for introducing substances that might not be detectable under normal dining circumstances. Security modifications during festival periods include both enhanced protection for special events and reduced surveillance in certain areas, as palace guards are redistributed to manage celebratory activities, creating opportunities for various activities that might be impossible under normal security arrangements, while simultaneously increasing risks associated with reduced protection and monitoring. Cultural performance expectations during festivals require understanding appropriate expressions of joy, religious devotion, and imperial loyalty, while maintaining personal authenticity that makes participation meaningful rather than merely ceremonial, creating complex performance requirements that balance individual expression with political necessity and social expectations. Recovery periods following major festivals involve returning to normal routines while processing the political implications of festival interactions, gift exchanges, and performance evaluations that influence your status and relationships within the harem hierarchy, making post-festival transitions crucial periods for consolidating gains or managing damage from festival mistakes and miscalculations. Historians still argue whether Ottoman palace festivals were primarily cultural celebrations or political management tools, but your experience reveals them as sophisticated systems that achieve multiple objectives simultaneously while creating concentrated periods of opportunity and danger that require extraordinary strategic thinking and performance capabilities to navigate successfully without triggering negative consequences that could prove fatal. Your observation of aging concubines reveals the harsh realities that await women who fail to maintain imperial interest or whose beauty fades beyond the point where cosmetics and careful lighting can disguise the inevitable passage of time that transforms yesterday's imperial favorites into today's forgotten relics, whose survival depends on developing alternative forms of value before their physical attractions become insufficient to justify their continued existence. The aging process in the harem creates a countdown timer where every wrinkle and gray hair represents decreased security and increased vulnerability to elimination schemes that target women whose usefulness has expired according to the brutal mathematics of imperial desire. Physical maintenance becomes increasingly desperate and expensive as aging concubines invest enormous resources in cosmetics, treatments, and various procedures designed to delay or disguise the visible signs of aging, while knowing that these efforts represent temporary solutions to permanent problems that will eventually overwhelm even the most sophisticated beauty preservation techniques. The palace beauty specialists who serve aging concubines understand that they're fighting losing battles against time while providing essential services that might extend careers for months or years that could mean the difference between comfortable retirement and mysterious disappearance. Alternative career development for aging concubines includes transitioning into administrative roles, educational positions, and various service functions that provide ongoing value to palace operations while creating new forms of security that don't depend on physical attractiveness or imperial sexual interest. Your observation of successful transitions reveals that women who anticipate aging requirements and develop alternative skills before their beauty fades have significantly better survival prospects than those who rely entirely on physical attributes without preparing for inevitable decline. Mentor relationships between aging and younger concubines create complex dynamics where experienced women share survival knowledge while potentially feeling threatened by the youth and beauty that younger women possess in abundance, while lacking the strategic wisdom that only comes through years of palace survival experience. These relationships provide mutual benefits while creating tensions that require careful management to avoid conflicts that could prove dangerous for both parties. Retirement planning for aging concubines includes various forms of preparation for life after active imperial service, ranging from accumulation of financial resources and personal property to development of relationships and skills that might provide security during periods when palace protection and support might no longer be available or reliable. Health management becomes increasingly crucial as aging concubines face medical challenges that affect both their physical capabilities and their appearance, while requiring access to increasingly expensive and sophisticated medical interventions that might exceed their available resources or political influence necessary for obtaining optimal health care. Family relationships for aging concubines might include reconnection with relatives from their pre-palace lives, relationships with any children they might have borne during their imperial service, and the complex emotional challenges of maintaining family connections across years or decades of separation and dramatically different life experiences. Economic security arrangements for aging concubines include various forms of pension systems, property rights, and financial planning that provide ongoing support after active imperial service concludes. But these arrangements often depend on political factors and personal relationships that might change according to circumstances beyond individual control. Social status transitions involve adapting to reduced influence and privilege while maintaining dignity and psychological health during periods when former status and authority are gradually diminished according to changing circumstances and the natural progression of palace hierarchies that prioritize youth and current imperial favor over historical achievements and past service. Memory preservation and historical documentation activities allow aging concubines to contribute to palace records and cultural preservation, while providing opportunities for maintaining relevance and value through knowledge sharing and institutional memory that might prove useful for administrative and educational purposes. Religious and spiritual development often becomes increasingly important for aging concubines as they prepare for eventual death, while seeking meaning and comfort through spiritual practices that provide psychological support during periods when other forms of satisfaction and security might no longer be available or reliable. Training and education services provided by aging concubines to younger women create opportunities for maintaining useful roles within palace operations, while passing down essential survival knowledge and cultural traditions that preserve institutional memory and support ongoing palace functions through knowledge transfer between generations. Elimination methods targeting aging concubines include various forms of neglect, reduced medical care, social isolation, and more direct interventions designed to remove women whose continued existence has become economically or politically inconvenient for palace administrators seeking to optimize resource allocation and minimize complications. Survival strategies for aging concubines require extraordinary adaptability, strategic thinking, and psychological resilience as women navigate the transition from valued imperial companions to potential liabilities whose continued survival depends on developing and maintaining alternative forms of value that justify ongoing palace support and protection. Historical precedents for aging concubine treatment reveal patterns that provide guidance for strategic planning, while highlighting the various factors that determine whether aging leads to comfortable retirement or elimination. With successful aging requiring preparation that begins years before physical decline becomes apparent to palace observers who evaluate ongoing value and potential liabilities. Historians still argue whether Ottoman treatment of aging concubines was primarily humane or utilitarian. But your observations reveal systems that balance economic efficiency with recognition of past service, while creating strong incentives for women to develop sustainable value propositions that extend beyond temporary physical attractiveness. Your evening participation in the harem's sophisticated intelligence network reveals how pillow talk and strategic seduction create information highways that influence imperial policy more effectively than formal diplomatic channels. As the intimate conversations between concubines and the Sultan become crucial sources of political intelligence that shape military campaigns, trade negotiations, and administrative decisions affecting millions of people across 3 continents. The intelligence gathering that occurs during seemingly private romantic encounters represents one of history's most sophisticated espionage operations, where feminine intuition and emotional manipulation serve imperial interests while providing individual concubines with opportunities for wielding indirect political influence that could determine the fate of nations. The information collection protocols governing your intelligence activities include sophisticated training in conversation management, memory techniques for retaining complex details, and strategic questioning methods that extract valuable information without arousing suspicion about your intelligence gathering objectives. Your education in espionage techniques rivals that provided to professional diplomatic agents, while requiring additional skills related to maintaining romantic authenticity during intelligence operations that must appear like genuine intimate conversation rather than systematic interrogation. Political influence opportunities emerge through strategic information sharing that allows you to guide imperial decision-making by providing carefully selected intelligence, cultural insights, and analytical perspectives that shape the Sultan's understanding of various issues, while advancing policy directions that serve your personal interests or the broader objectives of your political faction. Your pillow talk becomes a form of informal diplomatic consultation where imperial policy is influenced through intimate conversation rather than formal advisory procedures. Strategic seduction techniques designed for intelligence extraction include understanding psychological triggers that encourage information sharing, emotional manipulation methods that create trust and vulnerability, and timing strategies that maximize opportunities for gathering sensitive information during moments when imperial guards are lowered due to romantic intimacy and personal connection. Information validation and verification procedures ensure that intelligence gathered through romantic encounters is cross-referenced with data from other sources while protecting the secrecy of intelligence operations and the identity of individual sources whose survival depends on maintaining cover identities as entertainment providers rather than political operatives. Network coordination among multiple concubines creates comprehensive intelligence systems where different women specialize in particular types of information gathering while sharing data through carefully managed communication networks that allow for sophisticated analysis and strategic planning based on comprehensive understanding of imperial intentions and political developments. Security protocols for intelligence operations include methods for protecting sensitive information from hostile interception, techniques for maintaining operational secrecy within the harem's competitive environment, and procedures for managing the risks associated with intelligence work that could result in severe consequences if discovered by rival factions or security services. International intelligence gathering through imperial conversations includes collecting information about foreign diplomatic initiatives, military planning, trade negotiations, and other international developments that affect imperial interests, while providing early warning about potential threats and opportunities that require strategic response from Ottoman administrators. Policy influence strategies involve presenting information and analysis in ways that guide imperial decision-making toward outcomes that serve various political objectives while maintaining the appearance of spontaneous romantic conversation rather than calculated political manipulation designed to achieve specific strategic goals. Communication security measures protect intelligence networks from penetration by hostile forces, while ensuring reliable information flow between network participants and the administrative officials who utilize intelligence products for policy planning and strategic decision-making that affects imperial interests throughout the empire's vast territorial holdings. Intelligence product development includes analysis and synthesis activities that transform raw information into actionable intelligence products suitable for influencing imperial policy while protecting source identities and operational methods that must remain secret to preserve network effectiveness and individual agent security. Counterintelligence activities designed to protect harem intelligence operations include identifying and neutralizing hostile intelligence efforts while maintaining operational security that prevents rival factions from understanding the scope and effectiveness of intelligence networks that operate through romantic encounters and intimate conversation. Training and recruitment procedures for intelligence operatives include identifying women with appropriate psychological profiles, educational backgrounds, and strategic thinking capabilities, while providing specialized instruction in intelligence techniques and operational security measures necessary for successful espionage careers within the harem environment. Historical impact assessment reveals that intelligence gathered through romantic encounters influenced major imperial decisions, including military campaigns, diplomatic negotiations, and administrative policies that affected millions of people, while demonstrating the significant role that feminine intelligence networks played in shaping Ottoman historical development and political evolution. Performance evaluation systems for intelligence operatives include methods for assessing information quality, operational effectiveness, and individual contribution to network objectives, while providing career advancement opportunities for women who demonstrate exceptional capabilities in intelligence gathering and analysis activities. Historians still argue whether harem intelligence networks were primarily spontaneous or systematically organized, but your experience reveals sophisticated operations that combined romantic authenticity with professional espionage techniques to create information gathering systems that significantly influenced imperial policy through methods that exploited the unique access to imperial decision-makers provided by intimate relationships and romantic conversation. Your sleepless night becomes a journey through the palace's most dangerous hours when midnight summons transform ordinary darkness into periods of heightened terror, where emergency situations signal political upheavals that could reshape the empire, while determining whether you wake up tomorrow with elevated status or disappear permanently into the palace's darker corners. The night shift in harem politics operates according to different rules than daytime activities, with crisis management and emergency protocols that reveal the true power structures governing imperial survival when normal social conventions are suspended in favor of immediate response to threats that could destroy individual lives or entire political systems. Midnight emergency protocols include rapid response systems for various crisis scenarios, ranging from medical emergencies and security breaches to political coups and succession crises that require immediate action from palace personnel who must be prepared to implement complex contingency plans under extreme pressure while maintaining operational security and political loyalty. Your participation in emergency responses provides education in crisis management while exposing you to sensitive information about palace vulnerabilities and security measures that could prove valuable or dangerous depending on how such knowledge is utilized. Political upheaval indicators include subtle signs of brewing conflicts, administrative changes that signal shifting power balances, and various forms of preparation activity that suggest major changes are imminent in ways that affect individual survival prospects and career opportunities. Your ability to recognize these indicators becomes crucial for anticipating changes that might require immediate strategic adjustments or protective measures to avoid being caught unprepared when political storms strike without warning. Communication networks activated during crisis periods include emergency protocols for coordinating response activities while maintaining security and preventing information leaks that could compromise palace safety or provide advantages to hostile forces seeking to exploit crisis situations for various political or military objectives. Your access to emergency communications reveals the sophisticated coordination systems that maintain imperial stability during periods of maximum vulnerability and uncertainty. Security lockdown procedures transform the palace into a fortress designed to protect imperial authority while eliminating potential internal threats through methods that might include isolation, detention, or more permanent solutions for individuals whose loyalty becomes questionable during crisis periods, when absolute reliability becomes essential for imperial survival and operational effectiveness. Succession crisis management includes contingency plans for various scenarios involving imperial death, incapacitation, or other circumstances that trigger succession procedures while managing the complex political dynamics that emerge when multiple potential heirs and their political factions compete for control of imperial authority and the vast resources that accompany supreme power. Medical emergency responses for imperial health crises include sophisticated protocols for providing immediate care while maintaining security and managing the political implications of imperial illness or injury that could affect stability throughout the empire, while creating opportunities for various factions to advance their own interests during periods of imperial vulnerability. Intelligence gathering during crisis periods intensifies as various factions seek to understand developing situations while positioning themselves advantageously for whatever outcomes emerge from crisis resolution, creating opportunities for rapid advancement or elimination depending on strategic choices made during periods when normal political calculations are suspended in favor of crisis survival requirements. Alliance formation and dissolution accelerates during crisis periods as political relationships are tested under extreme pressure, while new alliances form based on immediate survival needs and strategic opportunities that emerge when normal political structures are disrupted by crisis conditions that require rapid adaptation and strategic repositioning. Elimination procedures for security threats include various methods for neutralizing individuals whose continued existence poses risks to imperial stability or individual survival prospects during crisis periods when decisive action becomes necessary for preventing larger catastrophes that could destroy established political systems and economic structures. Information warfare strategies employed during crisis periods include disinformation campaigns, strategic leaks, and various forms of psychological manipulation designed to influence outcomes while protecting allied interests and undermining hostile factions whose success could prove catastrophic for individual survival and broader political stability. Resource allocation during emergencies includes redistributing personnel, supplies, and financial resources according to crisis priorities, while maintaining essential services and protecting valuable assets, including human resources, whose preservation becomes crucial for post-crisis recovery and reconstruction efforts. Recovery planning for post-crisis situations includes preparation for various potential outcomes while positioning for advantageous participation in whatever new political arrangements emerge from crisis resolution, requiring strategic thinking that balances immediate survival needs with long-term advancement opportunities. Documentation and record-keeping during crisis periods includes maintaining accurate accounts of events and decisions while protecting sensitive information that could prove valuable or dangerous depending on how crisis situations are ultimately resolved and what new political arrangements replace previous systems. International implications of internal palace crises include potential effects on diplomatic relationships, military operations, and trade agreements that depend on imperial stability, while creating opportunities for foreign powers to exploit Ottoman vulnerabilities during periods when internal focus prevents optimal attention to external threats and opportunities. Historical precedent analysis reveals patterns in crisis development and resolution that provide guidance for strategic decision-making, while highlighting the various factors that determine whether individuals survive crisis periods with enhanced status or become casualties of political upheavals that eliminate threats while consolidating power among survivors who demonstrate appropriate loyalty and strategic value. Historians still argue whether Ottoman palace crises were primarily caused by internal political dynamics or external pressures, but your midnight experience reveals them as complex interactions between multiple factors that create opportunities for both advancement and elimination, while testing individual capabilities for managing extreme circumstances that require extraordinary strategic thinking and operational effectiveness. Your sleepless night ends as the first pale light of dawn creeps through latticed windows, signaling the beginning of another dangerous day in the endless cycle of luxury and terror that defines concubine existence. Where yesterday's survival provides no guarantee of today's security, and each new sunrise brings fresh opportunities for elevation or elimination in the deadly game that never truly ends until death provides the only permanent escape from the golden cage that has become your entire world. The approaching dawn illuminates the unchanging reality that your life has become a series of repetitive challenges, where survival depends on perfect execution of skills that must be continuously refined and adapted to meet evolving threats and opportunities. The cyclical nature of harem existence creates temporal patterns where days blend into weeks and months without significant variation in the fundamental challenges that determine survival, creating psychological pressures that accumulate over time while requiring extraordinary mental resilience to maintain effectiveness in environments where momentary lapses in attention or strategy could prove fatal. Your understanding of these cycles becomes crucial for maintaining psychological stability while developing the long-term strategic thinking necessary for planning beyond immediate survival towards sustainable career development within palace hierarchies. Seasonal variations in palace life create subtle changes in daily routines, political dynamics, and survival challenges, while maintaining the fundamental structures that govern harem existence regardless of weather, imperial health, or external political developments that might affect the broader empire, without significantly altering the internal logic of concubine competition and palace politics. Annual planning requirements for successful harem careers include strategic thinking that extends beyond daily survival toward long-term positioning for advancement opportunities, while preparing for various contingencies that might arise from changes in imperial preferences, political upheavals, or the natural evolution of palace hierarchies that affect individual prospects and survival requirements. Psychological adaptation to repetitive stress requires developing coping mechanisms that maintain mental health, while preserving the alertness and strategic thinking capabilities necessary for recognizing and responding appropriately to threats and opportunities that emerge within familiar patterns but require immediate tactical adjustments to avoid negative consequences. Memory management becomes crucial for maintaining accurate records of alliances, enemies, debts, and obligations that accumulate over time while avoiding the psychological burden of dwelling on past traumas or failures that could interfere with current performance requirements. and future strategic planning necessary for continued survival and advancement. Skill development and maintenance requires continuous education and practice to ensure that abilities remain current with evolving imperial preferences and palace requirements, while developing new capabilities that might provide competitive advantages or alternative career paths when primary strategies become insufficient for maintaining security and advancement prospects. Relationship maintenance involves managing complex networks of alliance and rivalry that shift according to changing circumstances, while preserving essential connections that provide mutual support and protection during crisis periods when individual survival might depend on collective action and shared resources. Physical health preservation becomes increasingly challenging as years of palace stress, irregular schedules, and various environmental hazards accumulate effects that require ongoing medical attention and lifestyle modifications to maintain the appearance and capabilities necessary for continued effectiveness in competitive environments. Financial planning and resource accumulation provide essential security for managing periods of reduced imperial favor, while creating opportunities for independence and alternative survival strategies when palace careers become unsustainable or dangerous due to political changes or personal circumstances beyond individual control. Career transition planning includes preparation for various forms of advancement, lateral movement, or retirement from active imperial service, while maintaining dignity and security during periods when circumstances require adapting to reduced status or alternative roles within palace hierarchies or external society. Legacy considerations involve deciding how to utilize accumulated knowledge, resources, and influence to provide ongoing benefits for family members, political allies, or personal interests while managing the complex moral and practical challenges of palace survival that require compromising traditional ethical standards in favor of survival necessities. Historical perspective on individual harem careers reveals patterns that provide guidance for strategic planning while highlighting the various factors that determine whether palace service leads to long-term security and influence or eventual elimination through political changes, personal failures, or the natural evolution of imperial preferences and palace hierarchies. Risk assessment and management requires continuous evaluation of changing threat levels while adapting strategies and tactics to meet evolving challenges that emerge from palace politics, imperial preferences, and the complex interactions between individual ambitions and collective survival requirements that characterize harem existence. The eternal nature of palace competition ensures that today's victories provide only temporary security, while tomorrow's challenges require ongoing vigilance and strategic adaptation to maintain survival prospects in environments where the rules never change, even as the specific circumstances and personalities involved in competition evolve according to broader political and cultural developments. As dawn breaks over the Ottoman palace, painting the marble corridors with soft golden light that transforms the architecture of your imprisonment into something almost beautiful, you realize that you've survived another night in this magnificent prison, where luxury and terror dance together in endless, deadly waltz. The morning call to prayer echoes across the city beyond your walls, a world you may never see again. While you prepare to face another day of navigating the intricate social hierarchies, deadly politics, and impossible choices that define life as an Ottoman harem concubine. The silk cushions beneath you represent comfort that comes at the cost of freedom, while the jeweled windows that filter the morning sun remind you that even beauty serves as barrier between you and the world beyond these golden walls. Your survival through one more night in this environment demonstrates remarkable resilience and adaptability. But each dawn brings fresh reminders that yesterday's success provides no guarantee of tomorrow's safety in a world where imperial favor can shift like morning shadows, and where the price of a single mistake might be disappearance into the palace's darker corners where failed concubines fade into forgotten memory. Rest now, knowing that you've glimpsed one of history's most complex and dangerous environments, where women wielded remarkable influence through methods that required extraordinary courage intelligence, and strategic thinking to survive the daily reality of life in one of civilization's most luxurious and lethal institutions.